Like I've been saying it since last split that I don't think Senkix was as bad as people said. Like he had a few bad weeks in spring split, but honestly, a lot of our players, I think every single player had a few bad weeks, but he stood out the most because of certain games. And ever since then, discussion's kind of been on him. And in my opinion, it was like a little bit unfair how much of the weight of spring split was put on him, because I think it was a failure on coaching staff.
Hey everyone, this is Darius from the Shotcaller, joined by Moose, is it now officially?
Coach Moose, here for you.
Not the Moose on the loose.
I mean, Deficio stole that, so like, you know, he can try to take claim of it, but let's be real. Like right now, it's the Moose is on the loose, and it ain't Deficio.
The Moose is definitely on the loose because you are 4-0 right now. You're on the top of the standings. A lot of people say that you are at least top 2, or Misfits are at least top 2. Do you think that all the praise you've received thus far is justified? And I would assume that you're very happy with your team's performance.
I think there should be more criticism on other teams rather than praise on us, because I am not happy with our performance so far. It's obviously a lot better than Spring Split. Just overall as a team, we're a lot better from Spring Split. So if fans and other analysts want to be excited about that, sure. Because, yeah, like that part is true. Are we top 2 right now? Probably, possibly. But do I feel like we are a definitive top 2 team in Europe, ready to dominate Europe? Not yet. I think we still have a ways to go for that. And I think, honestly, in a lot of our games, the enemy teams, the opponent teams have been really been inting it, to be honest. So,
fair call. There's been a lot of debate about, you know, the bot lanes, and Doublelift again put out an interview, and again it's the highest post on the Reddit and stuff. Yet we see Hansama consistently play AD carries. Today again, the Varus pick used so nicely, it works so well. Is everyone just getting it wrong, or are you guys just like, okay, these are still strong, we get that the funneling strat works, but we just want to win right now, and it works. It's still completely viable.
I think, I don't think everyone else is getting the idea behind mage bots wrong, as much as, honestly, it's been more the drafts themselves and the compositions themselves rather than the idea of AD carries bot versus mages bot, because I think both are viable. And it really comes down to, like right now, the meta allows your team to play to its strengths, whether that's top mid or bot. It's very flexible. So it's been the most flexible towards a carry player this season than it has been since like season 2 probably. And in that sense, this meta is good. We obviously put Hans on ADs because he's really strong on him, but like even for our team, we do play other styles. We just haven't had the necessity to show anything yet, because honestly, the way other teams have been drafting, this has just been the optimal response rather than, you know, we are choosing this style because we think it's the best. It's a reaction to how teams draft, and if other teams start drafting smarter, then obviously we'll adapt as well, and then you'll see all the variety that we've been practicing on stage as well.
Interesting, because when I was talking to Fnatic players, for example, they were like, yes, we know that technically there are also some ADs and we could play traditionally, but we really want to show that we can play funneling strat, and we want to show it on stage as well. So I was wondering, you know, Misfits maybe just tunnel on that one strategy to get the early wins, and you know it works so far, but in the long run this could potentially hurt not being able to play the funnel strat. But it's been working well.
So like last split, I had, and I still kind of have that, I have the philosophy that it's better to train for like playoffs and worlds and winning the tournament rather than to train for immediate results, because I do think certain teams from Spring Split went to playoffs and they were just too limited in the styles. I think like the G2 Splice series is the one that sticks out to me the most, because it was quite a predictable series in terms of how draft would go. It felt, I don't want to speak for G2, but I would assume they found it like easier to plan for Splice than they probably did for Fnatic or for other teams. And even Fnatic had like this distinct style, and then they went to MSI and that style wasn't viable anymore, so they kind of had to try to adapt and figure out how they can still play to their strengths. So obviously being flexible is a key part of any League of Legends team, especially if your goal is playoffs and further. So last split we were trying to be flexible and we just weren't doing a good job of it because we as a team weren't playing well, where now I think we are a lot more flexible than we've had to show on stage, and at least practice-wise, we are keeping ourselves up to date with every single style that we think is the best. So I don't think it's a concern because we haven't moved away from the philosophy we had last split. It just so happens that a lot of the training from last split where we played early mid-game, that kind of happens to be the meta. So we already had a strong early game. We fixed a lot of our mid-game issues and our communication issues. And so it just looks like we're more dominant now, where in reality, it's just the meta kind of shifted in our favor. And we have the same level of flexibility. We just need teams to draft in a way where we're forced to show it.
Interesting, because that was one of the key questions that I was going to ask, because, last split didn't go to plan, and there was a lot of criticism towards certain players. For example, Sankox, who now is dominating, essentially. That must be great to see him doing such a comeback.
I mean, it's nice to see that, I've been saying it since last split, that I don't think Sankox was as bad as people said. He had a few bad weeks in spring split, but honestly, a lot of our players, I think every single player had a few bad weeks, but he stood out the most because of certain games. And ever since then, discussion's kind of been on him. And in my opinion, it was a little bit unfair how much of the weight of spring split was put on him, because I think it was a failure on coaching staff. And so we've kind of, we've really thought in off season about what went wrong, both in our approach to coaching and also in our idea of how best of ones work. And so Sankox was always a good player. He was always someone I was satisfied with. He had the best communication last split in the team. And so even though it looks like he's a better player this split, a lot of that is because everyone else also is stepping up in comms now. Mickey's mentioned in an interview that last spring his comms were really bad and now they're better. We've been working really hard to bring his comms up to par as well. And so now that there's more support in comms for everybody from their teammates, you can really see any individual shine if they have resources put into them, which works in our favor because our early games are generally very strong. And I think in all three positions we have strong players. And now that the meta is so flexible, we can play to any carry role. We can just kind of choose the role we want to play through. This week we played through mid lane a lot in both our games, and last week we played through bot lane a lot. So we can play through top. We have a lot of flexibility on Misfits right now, and I think it's more that the coaching staff last split just didn't do a good job, as opposed to Sankox was bad.
That's good to hear. Speaking of coaching staff and additions to the team, you brought in 2 substitutes and coach/substitute in Jesiz. How have these changes affected the team?
The subs are nice. We tend to give them certain scrims during the week as well. And they're kind of always there doing review. They're always watching scrims. They're always learning. So it's nice just to have a second position or opinion rather from those positions. And also that people get training in matchups and such. So that's the advantage of the subs and how we're using them. And on Jesiz, he's the most valuable addition we've made this split. He's been if I had to credit anyone the most for the improvement that Misfit has gotten, it would be Jesiz. I feel very comfortable because I can rely so much on him in terms of taking care of the game plan, and then also to relate to me better than ever how the player mentality and mindset is, and also to relay his experiences to the players to kind of help back up certain points I make, because he's had a lot of experiences as a player and a coach over Fnatic and Immortals and SK and Origin. And so his experience and his gameplay knowledge is it's invaluable to Misfits right now. So the most important addition we've made this offseason by far is Jesiz, and I'm really happy with the work he's done.
Good pickup. Best chance of the offseason, potentially.
Yeah, I think it is there weren't that many off-season roster changes, to be honest. But yeah, I think he's the best roster change in Europe, probably for the year, to be honest. I think he's excellent.
Well, I'm very excited to see Misfits perform over the next few weeks. Do you expect other ULCS teams essentially to step up?
I already like how G2 play. I think this is a really good meta for G2 because, again, they have this really strong mid laner and perks, and you can kind of play certain styles to enable your carry player. So they enable perks a lot. So I think this is a really good meta for G2 because they don't have to rely on mid and bot to always be strengths, which is kind of how it was last split. It's easier to play through mid and top now. And also, Vitality has been very creative with their picks, and I respect that because even though they brought a lot of new picks, the idea behind those picks makes sense. So those 2 teams right now, I think, are the ones that stand out just because of the creativity in which they approach the meta and the picks and how well they enable their own strengths or try to. Fnatic will, I think, pick it up as the split goes on. So if I had to guess who like the top 4 going forward, I think those 3 will rise up pretty fast. And so I don't expect you guys to see a dominant Misfits going into the middle of the split or the end of the split. I think we'll be pretty evenly matched, and then it'll come down to playoffs preparation between the teams. And then like for the rest of EU, it's like really, honestly, it's pretty tossable. So those are the 3, I guess, that I'm looking at.
Very excited to see that for sure, and very excited to see playoffs. Hopefully you guys make it this time. This was the Moose. I will not stop calling it this one. Coach Moose and Darius from the Shotcaller. Hope you had a good day. See you then. Hey everyone, this is Darius from the Shotcaller, and I hope you just enjoyed that video. This is a generic end card, of course, so make sure to click here for a different interview, or here for a different interview, or about here to subscribe to the Shotcaller. We very much appreciate your support, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.